So, guys, let's get started. I'm going to try to keep this an interactive session because I'm not sure about the background of everyone in terms of experience with backend development. So, yeah, let's just keep this interactive. Try to be on, give answers whenever needed. So, Actionhero.js 101. Let's get started. I'm Yatin. I'm a software developer at Blockit. Blockit is Australia's leading blockchain venture studio. So we specialize in blockchain development for other companies as well as we have our own ventures. Cool. So for this presentation, actually, I thought to convert it into 4 phases. First, what is Actionhero.js? Then work out on the components of Actionhero and the mindset behind it. And lastly, I was thinking of a live demo, but probably we won't have that much time. I will explain why and probably will walk through a code. So yeah, let me get started with it. I hope everyone can see properly the slides.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So Actionhero.js, their website states they are a reusable, scalable, and quick Node.js API server for stateless and stateful applications. That's quite a mouthful. They are a backend framework. So, how many of you have done backend development? And can you tell me the frameworks on which you have worked on?
I worked on Drupal, Node.js, and Laravel.
Cool. Anyone else?
Node.js and Express.
I worked on Express and Happy.js.
Express and Happy.js.
Yeah, so for me, I have worked on Kova, Express, and Strappy.
Cool, Express and Happy. Yeah, Happy is a great framework to check out. Whoever has them.
Yeah, I worked with Express and Sales.js.
Yeah, cool. So most of us who have worked in Node.js in backend have worked mostly on Node.js as the backend or Express.js over it or Happy.js mostly. Now, these are what I recommend as micro frameworks. They are unopinionated and they just give you a request response pattern. Like, correct me if I'm wrong here or probably hurting someone's feelings. So, what these, like, to go beyond this, what we do is then we create our own service layer, then we have our own database interaction layer, our models and repository patterns, which we go over the Express app, which we probably others who have worked on maybe other frameworks such as Laravel, someone has worked on that, they would be more fluent in, right? So, opinionated framework which says that what is the best way to work in the coding mechanism. This is what Actionhero.js provides in the Node.js background. Now, I'm going to probably skip a few slides there. Then there isn't only Actionhero which is more opinionated and provides the opinionated framework, and there are many other frameworks as well. So Express is like a micro framework. Koa is probably the fastest micro framework. I'm not sure. Maybe there is Fastly also. Apart from that, if you guys do check out, I would highly recommend Loopback and Sail. And there is also Nest.js, which is in there. Although by comparison, Actionhero looks a lot better among among all these frameworks, this might be a bit outdated. So I would probably take this with a grain of salt. I'm not recommending Action Hero as the best framework out there. I'm just suggesting that it might be a way to go for some people, or at least worth taking up. Okay.
Martin, I have a question in the previous slide.
Yeah.
See here in the comparison in the Express, in the login section, they have marked that no, I mean it doesn't support logging. But I guess Express supports logging with the help of middleware.
Yeah. So Express doesn't really give the libraries needed to log. Like within Express, you can actually get everything from this. Like you can build upon it, or you could use separate libraries on it. But by default, it isn't really supported.
Okay, you mean to say when you want to log your APIs in Express, you need a third-party plugin. But in Action Hero, it's inbuilt, right?
Yeah. So think of it like I hope many can compare between Angular and React. Like in React, you need to plug in everything from external providers, even routing. Whereas in Angular, it is available by default. So Action Hero provides that only. Like you don't have to think about logging. You don't have to think about background processing. How, like, so let me take one example from this. Suppose I take background processing. In Express, when you get an API hit, you have to probably do some business logic, get some database action, and probably say send a notification such as email. Now, you could do it in the same method, like app.get. I think this is normally the procedure app.get and the function name. And in that you could have the logic for sending out the email. But a better way would be to push this asynchronous task in the background. You don't have to care about the email maybe right now. You just do it put it in a queue and let it go. Now, probably a better way would be in Express to maybe use some queuing mechanism, which would be in AWS or anything. Or you just use nodejs threading system and put the task in those threads, right? Action Hero provides this by default. Like this is a core feature of their framework. Am I good?
Yes. That answers my question. Thank you so much.
Alright. So going back, how many of you know about the MVC framework? I'm hoping all of you.
Are we supposed to tell that?
Yeah, or maybe on chat.
Okay.
Or you can unmute and tell me. Cool. I think almost everyone knows about this. Yeah. So almost all the frameworks take care of the backend as an MVC part, right? You have view, you have a controller, and you have models to interact with it. The reason I chose Action Hero to demo was basically this. We are not really using Action Hero in our production system. This was just an exploration point of view where we wanted to take a look at Action Hero, what was the concept behind it. Now Action Hero doesn't work with the general paradigm of MVC framework. What it does is, it separates the Action Hero server into 5 key components. One is the server, next are the chat, I would say So I'll probably go step by step. When we receive the response, the server is responsible for handling any types of requests, whether they be a TCP request, whether they are a socket request. There is a server template which handles all types of requests. Now, based on the type of request, it can, like, suppose it is a chat request, maybe it can move it to the chat server. And basically, chat is a component of Actionhero, so it is not really a server, but yeah, it is a component. Then, quick fact, the reason Actionhero came into place was Node.js servers were not really natively supporting chat. Like, there was no Node.js framework which were actually supporting chat a few years back. So they built, the reason Actionhero came into development was that. Now the core part is action. Yeah. Now the core part of the Actionhero server are the actions. This image, by the way, is taken from the Actionhero website, so you can reference it. Actions are actually units of work which is done. It is basically a controller. When you think about it, the controller, what it does is provides an interaction with the database. It provides with some logic to handle the request, but it does not do the main business logic, right? So actions are those parts. But the reason they have probably taken it different from the previous approaches is because they have actually taken it out from the database layer. Normally, people tend to use their models within the controller itself. They try to decouple it, and that is why they had a shift in paradigm that generally when you think about it, you get a request from the server, you have to take an action on it, and you have to probably go with the initializer and interact with the database. This is how they created the Actionhero. Next, we come to tasks. Tasks are what I told about earlier. These are the background processes which you need. Suppose there is an action you need to sign up a user. You do that in this action, maybe interact with the model to have the database, then you put on the task on the task layer to send out an email notification about account creation. Next, the last part is initializers. Initializers, I need to step back a bit. So Actionhero is basically, although the document is not that good, but they do talk about Actionhero's life cycle. Like you have life cycles in React. There are many React developers there, so they know about life cycle. In Actionhero, there is 3 parts of the life cycle: the starting, the running, and the stopping. So you can hook into every life cycle part with a priority. So suppose you start your Actionhero server. Maybe in the starting you hook an initializer to integrate and start your database integration. Like you connect to the database server. This is the initializer. Is it good? Any questions on this? Or can I move ahead?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, for example, we are in Actionhero, we are it's more like of a framework where it combines all the requirements that were required, like the TCP connection, the WebSockets connection and all. But for example, if I am developing an application, it has nothing to do with WebSockets protocol, then isn't it an extra dependency that I am for no reason I'm leveraging when I don't even need that in my application? Isn't the other approach a bit better that I like in plain nodejs I import only those libraries which I will like in the application?
Yeah, like good question. I'm sorry, who asked this? I can't really.
Akshay.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, good question, Akshay. Actually, you're right. This is part of the issue which I faced with Action Hero when testing around with it. But when you work a bit deep, you realize that the chat part, suppose I am just working with this part and I don't want to really work on the chat part. The chat part is just a code which is there and it isn't really live. You have the configuration ability to not run this chat layer. Like that is why there is a server layer. You just run the processes for the API server, the TCP server. You don't have to run the socket server. So that is just a bunch of code which is there and probably not more than a few MBs of file. That's it on your server. So it doesn't really put the pressure on. Okay, so cool.
So one more question, Tarun.
Yeah.
Like, is there any way to like, if I don't need chat, let's suppose, so I just remove it. So if I delete the code, so our bundle size or our code size will reduce. So is there any provision that Action Hero provides?
So the bundle size would be an issue when you are actually sending it to the client. So they don't have any such provision. But like I guess, best guess is the reason they don't provide it is because it is residing on the server. If 10 MB of code is residing on your server which isn't active, then it doesn't really make a difference. If it was a React app or a mobile app, then you have to bundle it and send it across, then it would have made an issue.
Okay, I understood.
Yeah. Cool. So what all composes ActionHero.js? So we talked about actions, tasks, initializers. Localization is also a feature where they have configured the use of internationalization in code base natively in the code. Then there are middlewares. Middlewares, like I told you about the hook, right? The life cycle of ActionHero.js. They have everything is built around those. So middlewares are also built around those. Middleware can be pre-hooked to an action and post-hooked to an action. Now, I'm sure if you guys would know a lot of cases where you are using middleware, such as suppose an authorization token is needed for an action, right, for accessing your secret file. Then that can be a pre-middleware, pre-action. And suppose you want to pass your response after some action has been done on it. Say you want to add the success message in every response, then you can have a post middleware. So middleware is helping those. Next, moving on, testing. They have actually configured Jest to be used with it. So Jest is a library which gets automatically installed whenever you get the ActionHero.js framework. Apart from that, there is Cache, there is Chat. CLI was also there. It helps to generate, like I think almost every good opinionated framework has a CLI. Theirs I didn't felt that it was a good one. It just helps you generate actions and probably models and everything. Like a couple of actions are only generated from CLI. Next we move on to web server, which is a typical API server. Then there are WebSocket servers for chats. Next there is plugins. So this was also one of the reasons I got interested in ActionHero.js. Now they are trying to build a ecosystem wherein it will be open source and you could build plugins to hook into the life cycle of their, like, you know React, how React is, you can build plugins for various React applications. So they are actually leveraging the plugins which are available throughout the community. So one of the plugins is they don't have a database integration in the ActionHero.js. Maybe you might have noticed I didn't talk about database integration within itself. Like initializer is just for part to initialize anything, right? So plugins help you that there. One of the plugins there is Equalize plugin. It helps you integrate Equalize with your Action Hero application. So, has anyone used Equalize? You can unmute and talk.
I think in Node I have used wherein you need to interact with MySQL database. I'm not sure.
Yeah. So, actually, yeah, Equalize helps in interacting with MySQL, Postgres, Equalize, Microsoft SQL, and basically relational database. So, yeah, it is probably one of the most famous Node.js libraries out there. So, yeah, plugins come into that space. Then there is the concept of cluster. I'm a bit thin on the details about cluster because I haven't really worked on it on production. But basically what cluster does is it helps you create multiple servers to fetch the request. Suppose you want authentication to be done maybe on the chat part and even on the on your regular API. So you could have one action and have multiple servers running on the same cluster, like you do in when you have various Dockers running, right? And you have both the servers connecting to one authentication action, which is available in one action. It's probably maybe not clear, but this is when you get to production level cost. I moved on to the comparison. Yeah. Okay. Actually, demo time. I was thinking about doing the live coding demo, but yeah, Action Hero is probably not that famous now, and the documentation is also not that good. But I tried to do whatever I could. And when I realized that their documentation was a bit outdated, I had to actually create a new tutorial for them. And like I actually created a tutorial in the Action Hero repository and asked them to probably do a PR and merge with them. Like there is a link, like you could go to Action Hero and new tutorial and switch to do tutorial branch when you have time to check it out. You just need to clone it, install the NPM libraries, migrate the database, and it will be up and running. So yeah, but this is not still raw and probably needs to be approved first by the Action Hero also. But I will probably walk you through the parts of the code, like whatever is needed for an API. Okay, let me share the link. Alright, so first I will walk you through the directory structure. Of course there are tests, then the localization which I talked about, I didn't work on this. There are logs for when you run the development server.
We're not seeing your screen,
Okay.
Yeah, that screen where you opened it.
Yeah, I might need to change. Hero is that they have configuration for almost everything. Like there is no magic behind this opinionated framework. You get to configure everything. So when you have like SQLite, you can have the configuration right built in. You don't need a env, just an env. You could tell, like using SQLite, you could tell where the models and migrations could be within the code itself. Then there is the API server. Like most of us would have run into issues where we need more than one version of API running. So they provide it inbuilt. You can have V1, V2, maybe hundreds of versions of app running by this configuration. And there are multiple configurations which we positively can't go through right now. Even for errors, like there is a configuration. So suppose I'm throwing an error that maybe user ID is not found. They have a wrapper around it in this configuration where you could probably pass that error, and maybe if some of us are working on privacy intensive or security intensive applications, maybe we do not want to show the error messages. We could just throw a 500 error there and not really show the error message. There are tons of configurations available. One of the configurations which they by default do is they prefix it with error colon, like for conventional basis. Right? There are errors available for missing params, unknown action, whatever you want to do. Most of it is configurable. Then there is the plugin configuration. I would probably go through all the files, but the most important one, the plugin configuration. This is where, like I told you, you can plug in the Actionhero SQLite plugin. This is where it comes in handy. Like you just need to tell it where the in the node module where the plugin is, and that's it. You have your SQLite plugin configured. Next, routes, which is pretty basic in every backend application. You could have routes for get, post, patch, delete, update. Like in this tutorial application we created was for a bucket list. So I had various endpoints for goals, right? So this is pretty basic in every opinionated framework, and even in unopinionated ones, they have the same standard, right? Then, yeah, I think that's about it. So let's move on. If we were building the application, what all we would do? Anyone wants to say what would be the first step when you are building, say, a bucket list application? Like I will walk you through the code, what all was done. If anyone has an idea.
Set up the server maybe?
Okay, no. Say if you are doing coding, that's coding. Okay, then we are in the routes.ts file. It's pretty simple. Then, second step.
Authentication.
Let's not try to complicate it. Just a bucket list.
Create a for your application.
Database integration.
Cool. Yeah. Right. So migration would be the second step probably. So migration here works similar to, like, it is basically SQLite. Many of you might have used or have seen the syntax already. So you basically create a goals, say we are using a goals table, have those columns identified, ID, title done, the pretty standard ones in every table, created that, updated that, deleted that. Now this is one thing which I would like to tell you, always basic. This is where Action Hero helps in to plug in SQLite TypeScript. You define the model columns, and here there is a decorator for before create action. This is actually much more related to SQLite, not really related to Action Hero. Wherein suppose my ID column is the UUID, and I want to generate it on the run, right? So this is a simple code snippet where if there is no ID, you generate a UUID for it. Next, anyone? After modelization, what is it to do?
To write the controllers for it, like what have to do it to get a particular model.
Connect model with the controllers.
Something before that. I know, like, good engineers will answer this. Think, what do you hate most, developers?
Inputs.
Writing test cases.
Yes,
Server is running or not.
test cases. So yeah, in the test cases you would probably write test cases for models as well. Yeah, so you have a normal test suite of models for a goal, then you probably write a simple test case for seeing that the model you made is actually working or not. Right? So within this test application, actually all the test cases are working. Yeah. Is this visible?
Zoom a little bit more, please, if possible.
Yeah. I hope this is running. So yeah, this is one of the frustrating points of Action Hero, where every time, like, you can of course configure it to be out of it. You have to run prettier, like the code runs prettier every time. So probably good for some devs, frustrating for others. So after model, someone said controllers, or what do you, like after the model testing, what do you do next?
Connect model with controllers.
Right. So in here everything is an action. So we have, like, there are a few actions by default available: status, show documentation, and create chat tool. So show documentation is probably getting deprecated in the next version. They're probably trying to integrate by default Swagger into it, which is by default the convention, industry convention right now. So yeah, let's just go through one of the goals. Action, probably create goal, or let's do a simpler one, get goal first. So you have to extend an action in this, in any action, and just pretty much they don't really need much configuration. You could have name, you can have a description. This is helpful when you want to do a control log and you get the information. Then the inputs which are required by the action. Say suppose we are doing a get goal. We have defined it in the routes file as goal, and for that particular ID you can get the goal. So the main part of this is the run function, which is an asynchronous function, where even though I have written this code here like this, probably a better pattern would be to move it to a repository file. But yeah, you get the goal via equalize. If the goal isn't found, you throw the error. Otherwise, on the response object, you just attach the goal. Like that's it. It is that simple. Right. Similarly, moving on to list goals, you have a name, description, output examples. I'm not sure they are using it right now, and probably they are going to deprecate it with the new form of documentation. So yeah, this would probably go out. Apart from this, yeah, pretty much like simple code wherein like you have to write in a structured manner. I have actually written everything in one file. Since this is a goal related file, I wrote everything in it. Yeah, delete row. I think this is it. Apart from this, of course, you have test for action as well, wherein you can have, but like there is no different syntax. You just integrate it with jest. You don't have to go learn something for this framework. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't think I left any part from the tutorial code. Yeah, I think I will walk you through just the one step. So in Actionhero, like one of the good points is that they have clarity and they do not make it magical. So there is a process object which you can initialize, and this literally starts the server, stops the server, and there is a spec helper which actually helps you run the action. That's it. So from the framework point of view, there are only three things to know: how to start the server, stop the server, and run an action. Other things are basically just based.
How is logger integrated into it?
So this isn't really your typical logger. This is actually the logger for your all the actions which are happening.
So if I want to have a custom logger and custom logging, how do I do that? Means it will also be a part of some integration?
Yeah, so I'm not sure they have the plugin yet, but if you want to do a third-party integration, either it is a simple Node.js application, so you do that with, or you create an Actionhero plugin to just integrate into their lifecycle. So like that would be the ideal approach. But I'm not sure anyone else has created a plugin for logging yet. It isn't really quite famous. So one of the things is, like, even though I'm giving the presentation on Actionhero, it isn't quite famous yet. The framework has 2.1k stars. We do look at stars when we are choosing a framework, whereas Sails and Nest, I think, have probably around 30k. The reason I chose this was because it was an interesting deviation from the standard framework. Anything else? I think I'm done. Like, I saved you 1 hour of your life.
So, Yatin, so can you show the logger there? I mean the file which was logged. So here all the actions are logged. So
yes.
We consider action means everything like hitting a database call or receiving something.
Everything. So no, not those are not actions, but on the debug level, these are like everything which is happening on the server. Whether it is initializing of the initializer, the server, starting of server, any actions which are coming in, you can take a look at it.
Okay, okay. Test server, debug, nodejs.
So, yeah, one of the things which I forgot to tell you about, like which I really like, was the hot reloading feature. Like we were making the changes and it reloads. Similar to
Same like node mod, like we do node mod.
yeah. So yeah, this is embedded.
So we don't need even node mod here. So that if we change something, it automatically server reloads and serves the file.
Right.
That's cool.
Nitin,
Anyone?
do you recommend using Action Hero for some kind of applications? Like each framework has its both pros and cons. So, which kind of application Action Hero will suit best for?
Like this is the framework I would probably advise everyone to keep an eye on. Maybe if the community builds up, this would be the framework which would be like actually forgoing and probably actually win the race in Node.js framework. But I won't recommend it right now. Like this would be the best framework out there, but it isn't really community supported. And like the updates are quite, even though they are on 21 versions, but the documentation, like I needed to create a new documentation to tell you guys. The tutorial which I have given, I have actually created a PR on their main website. Right, this is an Action Hero which I created. So their documentation is quite thin. You wouldn't want to do it for your client.
Yeah, that's an opportunity, by the way, Yatin, since I found few things are very good as compared to Express.js, and if like someone wants to contribute, like you contributed towards the tutorial,
Yeah,
I mean, it's an opportunity for everyone wherein we can give our contribution to Action.js in order to make
right. Yeah, so that is a very good opportunity actually, Karan, you are right. So the author of this framework is quite responsive. I have had a few messages with him. He was quite appreciative of the fact that you are contributing and he will help you out in your PR. So that is a good point. Like you can help Action Hero become the best framework out there. And since it is quite raw till now, like they are just integrating Swagger, like the benchmark would be quite low. Like you can contribute easily.
Yes, so I would recommend everyone, like if you can take help from Yatin. If you want to build your, I would say, open source profile, so this is a good platform to start with. If you want to start contributing towards open source, I mean Yatin can help and you can contribute in Action Hero, right, Yatin?
Yeah, anytime. So yeah, contributing to this, I would probably recommend going with your hobby project with Actionhero.js. So that like the concept is actually quite strange. They went ahead with the normal MVP paradigm. They tried to shift it.
Yes, then, sorry, like I joined midway, so I don't know if this has been discussed or not. But how would you compare it to something like Adonis.js? I mean, I get that Express.js is the minimal, kind of a very minimal thing, but how would you compare it to a full-fledged framework like Adonis?
Well, let's check out Adonis. I actually don't remember.
Can you brief in 1 minute about Adonis, Rishabh? Even I don't know.
So Adonis.js is kind of a Laravel in Node.js. So they take inspiration from Laravel, and they've got almost the similar API and same set of features that Laravel and PHP has. So it's a full-fledged framework, but they are coming up. So Adonis 4 was JavaScript based, so there were some issues that, like, I feel that they didn't have a lot of IntelliSense on top, but now they are building Adonis 5 with TypeScript, so they have the full code completion support, which is nice, and which is, I think, the only feature that I actually thought was missing. Other than that,
feature?
I mean, IntelliSense, so everything you have to remember on top of your head, which is okay once you get used to it, but for a beginner it wasn't that friendly. For like obvious reasons, like one cannot remember everything.
I get
But
it.
now they are building it on top of, so now they are basically building it on top of TypeScript with Adonis 5. So that statement is, I guess, maybe in a few months that statement would be totally wrong, because that at that point Adonis 5 will be in production. But yeah, I mean, and they have some weird
comparing it to Laravel.
Yeah.
Like even their website is similar.
They literally have. Yeah, exactly. And
they have,
you know, like the creator himself actually tells you that he actually took the inspiration from Laravel. That Laravel was so simple in PHP, but for Node.js we don't really have anything like that.
Yeah, like even I felt that about Laravel. They actually copied the whole documentation point. Like this is literally how Laravel.
This is literally Laravel and Node.js. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could say that. Like I usually do this. That this is Laravel in the Node.js.
Yeah. You are right. Like this would be one of the great frameworks to check out. Simple to use. Apart from this, I think I said in the beginning there is Sales and Net.js, which are worth checking out. They are much more popular. Probably Net.js or Sales or Loopback. Loopback is a bit behind the curve because they're probably dealing with enterprise customers more, being IBM back now. So yeah, like who knows who will win the race. Yeah, this is basically a simple MVP structure, right? So, Adonis, you joined in later. Actually, I will just give you a glimpse of how this is different from the typical MVC framework. So, this doesn't really talk about MVC much. This is mostly based around their own concept of action. And the way Action Hero is working is they are mostly dependent on plugins. They are not really trying to build their everything on their own. Even the simple thing such as database connection, they are not making on their own. Now with Adonis or even every other framework out there, you normally get stuck with the opinionated one. You get stuck with their own database integration.
Question over here.
Yeah.
So since they are trying to follow a plugin pattern over here, don't you think we'll face similar problems that we face in Express, wherein with Express we have been provided with a minimalistic approach and probably we can integrate third-party middlewares into it. And somehow when we talk about plugins, that is also following the similar ideology, wherein the different third-party plugins can be put into your application.
Right.
We still have the same problem at some place.
Yeah, you are right, partly. You will have those issues. But normally the reason Action Hero would be better compared to Express is because they are trying to give you the opinion how to plug in those into the lifecycle hooks of Action Hero server.
Cool. Thanks, Abhay.
Sorry, I didn't get that one. So they are actually giving us opinion, or they are not?
Coming back to this, like I talked about, there is a plugin called Equalize, Action Hero Equalize. Now what it does is it bridges the gap between Action Hero and Equalize. So you don't just use Equalize as it is, but you have to use a Action Hero plugin, wherein that plugin tells you, okay, probably boot up the database connection
in the life cycle when the Action Hero server starts. Right? There isn't like they are opinionated about how to use those plugins. Like you have to use a plugin to use a particular library.
Okay, so can I understand this in a IOC container type of a thing?
I'm not sure.
So
like, even I don't
basically,
remember English now.
yeah. So okay. So essentially, IOC has like providers. So we build our own providers connecting to the software or the framework. But I could say that this Adonis.js or Laravel has the MVP structure in addition to those IOCs or in addition to those plugins. Could I say that? I mean, Action Hero is plugin based. These things can be like IOC is essentially a plugins. They don't call them plugins, but essentially that's what they do. So can I just say that these Laravel, Adonis.js, or all these frameworks have plugins plus that MVP structure in addition to it?
I think you're right. Yeah, this is actually similar to IOC. Yeah, like from my experience with Laravel, yeah, these are similar to IOCs only.
Yeah, so essentially IOCs are just bindings we provide in addition to what frameworks already provides.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah, creator of Adonis.js is an Indian guy. He's from Bangalore.
Wow, that's great.
We just saw that in the chat. Someone posted it.
Who shared that? Thanks for sharing that.
Nice. We should like become Atmanirbhar and take out it all next time.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's a cool framework. I mean, I honestly didn't get a chance to use it in production because people have their opinions. But I used it over a couple of personal projects, couple of fun projects, and this is really like, if you're coming from a Laravel background, something similar, this is something you'll love.
Maybe you can have the demo for Adonis next time.
Yeah.
Tarun can be pursue with you.
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I literally don't have. Basically Bahana, which I had. Like I didn't have a laptop. So yeah, Tarun is gonna push me now.
By the way, guys, we have 20 minutes to wrap up this. So we have a good chance right here to ask any doubts in respective to ActionJS or any other things related to JavaScript or any other things related to our club, community, or any doubts you have. Like we have now time to explore these. Like we are open for any kind of discussion related to these technologies, and if you are learning something, having some issues, or if you want to give suggestions about our future topics, wants to give some inputs, we are open for that as well. Or if someone wants to deliver the topic or speech, so we are open for that as well.
Yeah, guys. So basically, this is gonna turn into a QA and discussion kind of a thing now for like 15 minutes. So everyone's open to talk whatever they want to, related to tech, related to the meetup and everything.
Or you can tell us what you want to present. Abhijit, are you still online?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Would you like to present something in the next meetup?
Are we focusing on the backend technologies right now?
No, nothing like
We
that.
have,
Anything.
We don't have a opinion based on it.
Yeah, I think that is because it's a Devtalk, so anything related to development or software development, so we are open for those topics.
Cool. So I don't think you guys like how many of you know what Terraform is? Like in any of your organizations, you guys Terraform? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard about it. One of my colleague is working on that, and I think it is built by Hershey I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we JD is the organizer of their Chandigarh chapter as well. So yeah, I know some people who know about it, but I'm not.
Cool. So probably like if we have a platform over here, so we can discuss this as a thing next week. Good luck.
Yeah, we can do that. Would you like to take up that talk regarding to Terraform?
Yeah, definitely. Probably I can set up a very minimalistic thing where we could discuss about that.
Sure.
Someone said about who, let me spell your name correctly, Mustansir Zia.
Yeah, I mean, hi guys. I was kind of silent right from the start of this meeting. I really couldn't speak. I couldn't give my intro before, so I wasn't able to do that. I was going to come to here. I've actually personally met Tarun and Sarabjit once. If they remember me, I'm not sure if they do it right now in Delhi. So, so I think that so currently I'm joining from Kashmir.
Yeah, I remember you as well. Actually.
Yeah, I remember
in
you.
React Delhi, where I gave meetup on Roll Hardback in React.js with me and Sarab.
Exactly.
I remember.
Exactly. So I was part of the audience that Tarun was presenting to, and we had a chat also. So that was a really good talk. I mean, this was a really good deviation to what we usually face in backend. I think to really give our thanks to Yasin and the team for organizing this. I mean, so I actually had one question that I wanted to ask you guys. Many of you guys are backend developers here, and what I really wanted to know from you guys is that what have you guys ever experienced? Have you worked with more SQL databases and prefer them over SQL databases? Like there's a lot of talk going on that these databases are really scalable and you should try them out and stuff. But what I've always felt is that they are somewhat lacking in when it comes to data consistency and data modeling, and querying becomes really hard at times. So what is the kind of how would you if anyone of you have experience with those, would you recommend those over SQL just for their scalability? Do you guys feel that they are a good thing to venture into right now? What do you guys feel?
So I guess that really about your use cases, right? For example, if you're talking about an application where you are transaction dependent and where you have complex queries that cannot be solved using NoSQL, then definitely there is no point going for a NoSQL database. But there are certain applications, as you talked about, when we talk about scalability of NoSQL databases, and where you have actually utilization of such use cases, probably why not go ahead with that? Like that's what I think.
Right.
So I also have an opinion based on this. Essentially, what I think is NoSQL databases, as of right now, are meant to store data. They are not meant to query, like Abhijit mentioned. They are not meant to query. They are not meant to be a complicated query-based databases. Mm-hmm. So, use cases, I guess, whenever you want to have something stored, very heavy work. You could even store in GBs, and that won't be slow in NoSQL. But if you do the same for SQL, that can be a scalability issue. So essentially, use heavy data processing. Logging is one of those scenarios when you log a lot of things, and it could very quickly bundle up to even I've seen hundreds of GBs of logs, and it could be very hard to pass through them. So yeah, that is one place where NoSQL can shine compared to SQL, because I guess query a million rows from SQL is definitely going to take more time compared to NoSQL, because so much overhead is taken into the SQL querying.
Okay.
So we actually had some applications where we actually use combination of these. So whenever we had to log something or we had to store some heavy files, heavy not transactional data, but some just archiving data kind of a thing. So that's where we NoSQL comes in. Otherwise, we use SQL for any frequent transactional data that we need very often.
Right. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thanks. So, someone saying about JSON-P, Ishan Mahajan. Ishan, would you like to?
Yeah, even I haven't used that a lot, but it's like a schemaless in Postgres. So you don't need to add the schema for if you are trying to do this number. And still you can query just like MongoDB or any other NoSQL.
I haven't used JSON-P, but could there be a limitation? Because I can't really fathom that it's actually not gonna cost any overhead if you just post something schemaless.
No, it doesn't.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
There is some background
Is there
noise.
anyone else?
Others, can you please mute if you're not speaking? That's it, really.
Yeah, you can create indexes as well, so it doesn't affect the speed that much. So you will get the SQL features by using no schema.
But how about the aggregations?
Yeah, I think they are.
That's the actually main. Yeah, that's actually the main thing when compared to SQL and NoSQL.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any experience? Sorry, I didn't hear you.
We are using in our product.
Okay.
I have worked on that.
Okay, fine. So someone actually posted a question, Rohit Mittal, what is JSON-P? So can you, you would be the better person to answer this one, since you are using it.
No,
दो
I am
खाने
not using
चार
it.
पीस सीखने तुसी कितने खाने दो खाने चार पीस
Okay, that's cool. Okay, no problem. We'll try to answer this question over a blog or something.
जब मैं दो खाने मेरे चार पीस थे अपने जिन्ने उन्हें सीख लो सारे को सीखने हैं करना पे
Anything else? Anyone else would like to give any input, share something?
Yeah, Abhijit, and for other also, I just shared one email ID. So if anybody interested to give any talk, so they can email their title of their talk and some brief to that email.
Have you shared the email and Rohit to answer your question
in the chat?
One line. Yeah, Tarun, go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just sharing the email ID. I think Sarab already shared the email ID. If anyone have any doubt or want to give any talk, just email us. So we'll respond it and we can connect after this event. Yeah. Over to you, Rishabh.
And also, if I also shared a Google form. Sorry, Rishabh, to interrupt. I just shared a link for the Google Forms. So please share your feedback for this event as well over there.
Okay, finally. So Rohit, to answer your question in one line, we'll make it more detailed over the next week or something. But it's essentially similar to NoSQL, but in a SQL database manner. I think it's in Postgres where it is mostly used. I'm not 100% sure about this, but it's essentially a NoSQL type Postgres NoSQL thing, where you can actually use queries like you normally use in SQL. That could be joins, that could be simple select statement, that could be indexes. I don't know if it supports functions and views, but that's essentially what I understand by JSON. It's actually schema, but Postgres is where we are used to it.
Okay, so MongoDB do have this? With MongoDB has this?
I believe so. Yeah, JSON is just a schema type, right? So it's most familiar in Postgres SQL thing, but JSON is just a schema, standard, we could say. A way to, or I guess technically it's nothing. It's just saying that you can send data in JSON. That's it.
Okay. I had a question. Like for example, in SQL databases, we have an optimization technique that is normalization. So we normalize database to reach mode optimization to remove redundancy. But so, is there any counterpart of it in NoSQL databases? Like, is there some similar sort of a technique in NoSQL databases, something that we have to keep in mind while designing the models that we are storing in NoSQL databases, anything like of that sort? Or do they have all the kind of optimizations built, or their architecture is designed in that way that you don't need anything like that?
So honestly, I'm not the best person to answer it, but one thing that I can comment about this is NoSQL at this point is not built for heavy computation or heavy query things. So this normalization thing never comes into place because it's not even designed for it. It's more like it's an archiving, but yeah, that's kind of it.
So at the
in my opinion,
at its core, they are SQL databases only. Like the databases which use ODMs and ORMs.
No, so ODM is essentially a query mapper for NoSQL, and SQL databases we call them ORMs.
Okay.
Object relational mappers and object document mappers. Yeah, the core difference from them is SQL databases can support heavy queries. They can support joins. They can support views, functions, triggers, and all those like tricky stuff. But for a NoSQL database, as far as I know, they are used for archiving. So they don't support heavy query. For example, it's obviously you can do a join or aggregation in a lot of these databases. For example, Elasticsearch is one of the best NoSQL database that I feel there is. It supports heavy aggregations. You literally combine any data from anywhere. But they are not meant to do that. They are more like an archiving stuff where you can fetch data in bulk and post data in bulk.
So actually they are mostly meant for suppose you saw the logger right in the presentation where every action was logged. Now this is a sort of a thing which you probably won't ever take a look at, or might in 6 months or 10 months, or might even use for big data analysis. So this is the sort of thing which would go into a NoSQL database.
Yeah, right. So according to me, basically
that's an excellent example here.
Yeah, so that NoSQL database are built for the data that do not have like a relation with each other. So there is a lot of data, but they do not relate to each other. So people like for like data mining and do some data analysis. For that purpose, I think these NoSQL databases are come into picture, and where we need relations between different tables, so there we should use SQL databases.
I think that answers my question.
One more example for everyone that I want to give would be search engines. So NoSQL databases are very prominent in those because you literally have millions of strings to search from, and that's where NoSQL databases can actually shine because you can pass through them pretty simply and pretty easily, quickly. So search engines mostly use NoSQL databases these days. And like I said, Elasticsearch is one of those examples. It's literally built for search engines. That's the reason actually it has some aggregation which others don't, because sometimes you actually need to search in relations. But yeah, that's one database that like search engine. That is another example for it.
Good.
Yeah, that's.
Thanks for this discussion. Anyone else? We only left with few minutes. Like if anyone else would like to ask anything, in a few minutes left.
Okay, so how many guys have actually heard about Deno?
Well, that's kind of it's really hype being built. Yeah, it is being built. It has been built by
Yeah. Most of the Node.js guys are waiting for it, I guess.
Well, no, not really. Never. There was an irony about that the website of Dino is actually run on Node.js. So there's actually one irony there. But I guess the point is that you can't really replace Node.js with Dino in the next few years, because Node.js is so strongly built. It's so strongly embedded in the the organization and the community.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Node.js is not gonna go anywhere, but Deno could be a good alternative in future. I mean, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, that's true.
Guys, I have one query. Like, has anyone of you worked on a chat app in production?
Dino's
Yes.
Chat. So, which vendor did you use? Did you use an external vendor for chat application?
Not really. I mean, we built a quick chat based on a NoSQL database and web sockets.
So, was it like production ready?
Yep. I mean, we are using it for a year and a half now, but at this point.
In which product?
It's essentially a school, college ERP. So teachers and students talk to each other. We have features can be added, but essentially it's a chat app with. It's a part of a big app, but chat module is file sharing, images sharing, video sharing, and normal chat. The basic features, basically.
Anyone else?
I have used Meteor for a chat application. Rocket.js.
I was mostly thinking about any vendor. Like, what is the best vendor? Like, I know Firebase is a good one.
There are a few. I think, do you know about Pusher? There's one called Pusher.
Yeah.
There's also an open source solution called DP, which is mostly used for really real-time applications, including chat. So many people have designed multiple games on top of DeepStream. So you can look into that.
Which one? Sorry, can you add this feature? DeepStream. Okay.
Which are the link in that?
Right. Cool. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so is that something you wanna have a full-fledged UI for it as well, or just a vendor to push the messages?
Full UI, like the chat application.
Live chat, live chat is one of those things, and I think tail.io is another one. Like a lot of people in hosting industry use live chat.
Right.
Cool. So that's a full-fledged thing. You get all the admin side and everything in there. You just have to inject JavaScript sort of a thing. That's it.
Cool. Thank you, guys.
I think today's session was quite interactive. Thanks Yatin for bringing up this good topic, and that make everyone discuss on that. That leads to a very good session today. Thanks so much for your attention.
Thank you guys for coming. Sorry for taking your 1.5 part of Sunday.
No. It's really awesome, by the way. Even I get to know much more about frameworks of backend and other stuff. It was very cool.
Yeah,
I think. Yes. Yes. So do we have WhatsApp group? Yes, Shan, we have. Just send me your phone number. I'll add you there.
Sarab, can you share the invite link here so that anyone
Yeah,
who wants
I'm sharing.
to
Just give me a minute.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Sarah, please.
Actually, I disabled it past week because of some spamming around.
probably enable it for like 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yes. We can do it. Okay. So meanwhile, Sarah is pasting the link. I guess everyone else is joined on our WhatsApp group. We have our YouTube channel as well. We will post all the material of today's talk over YouTube. And let me share you the YouTube link as well. Let's subscribe to our channel. This is a common word everyone says.
We are getting into the YouTube world now.
Sorry, Rishabh?
We are getting into the YouTube world now.
Yes. So this is our YouTube link. Please join. So we'll post this video, and this is the link of our WhatsApp group. I've just shared it. You can just say hi on this group. Isn't that? So by the way, next meetup is on 27th, which is of Angular beginners. That will be given by Prashant. Yeah. So I hope you guys will come in the next meetup as well. I think I'll wait for one more minute. If anyone else has any discussion, then we'll continue. But officially, we are over. Yeah. Anyone else have anything? Yes. Okay. With that note, thank you everyone. Especially thanks to Yatin for organizing and doing this session. So thank you guys. See you on 27th. So meanwhile, you just check out our YouTube channel and WhatsApp group. So we are very interactive in terms of if you need any help in any kind of React or any kind of topic.
Sure.
Yep. Thanks everyone for joining
Thank
and
you,
Yatin for presenting.
Thank you everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks guys for listening.